Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Little update today. Last week did not go as planned as far as a business opportunity. The week prior to that, so about 2 weeks ago, I traded in my 22 Nissan Titan for a third row SUV, which was a 25 Nissan Pathfinder. There was a company in my area that had a listing up for a while, off and on. It disappeared and then it came back again. They were looking for a third row SUV. I did talk to them prior to me having that SUV beginning in November, and let them know that I had a pickup truck. That I could haul different things. They were specifically looking for something that was enclosed, no open bed, or even if the bed had a tonneau cover, they weren't looking for that particular vehicle because they were doing pharmaceutical transport and deliveries. And this route has three parts. They have two guys that were doing it. One is a very short route, one stop, one delivery back to a warehouse. So it's like a warehouse to warehouse type early morning pickup. And the other one was two routes, and they listed it for this town, right? This town is close to me. Like it was that specific area that was going to have the route. And there was another gentleman that did the other part of that route, but currently he was doing both of them at the same time. They were looking to split that up and also have an additional person for a backup in case somebody was to take vacation or needed a day off. So went through it, got into the background checks, and everything was moving pretty fast. Drug screening, urine samples, a bunch of different insurances through GigSafe, things like that. That all these things had to be in place. So it went fairly fast. Had a video conference with my liaison at the company, and boom, boom, boom. That Monday of last week, I had my first day of training. The gentleman that was doing both routes that they were looking to split, I met him at the pickup, got the vehicles loaded, and I basically followed him. And then I find out that this route is nowhere near what they have expressed in the listing. So it's not just the local route. It originates in that town, and that's about it. So you end up doing a bunch of Pennsylvania, you end up down into Cumberland, Maryland, and then from Maryland you end up running down into West Virginia. And the second part of that from Cumberland down into West Virginia was pretty lengthy between those stops. So all in all, when I was done with the last stop on the double route, which this gentleman does 5 days a week, and it's a pretty long route, and I was 2 hours from home. So at the end of that day, it was probably about an 11-hour day from the pickup at the warehouse till I got back home on the double route. So was waiting for another phone call from my liaison to find out when I could train on the other single warehouse to warehouse route. Tuesday goes by, I didn't hear anything. Wednesday, she did reach out to me wanting to know when I was going to do that other route. And I said, I can do it anytime. Just let me know. And I said, on top of that, let me applaud the guy that trained me for doing that route every day for the last 7 months, because it is a lengthy route, and the mileage and time, for this gentleman to do it, it was even longer than that 11 hours. He's probably running about a 12 and a half hour day, start to finish. Because he lives quite a ways away from the originating pickup warehouse. And she put me on hold. She said, I got another phone call coming in. Let me put you on hold. Comes back on, says, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to call you back. Calls me back. And apparently she just assumed that because I applauded this guy for doing this route every day for 7 months, 5 days a week, and that I said it was lengthy, she assumed that I was out already. So, she wouldn't even let me speak. Like, she just cut me off and said, so from what I understand, you think this is a long route, and, we'll just let it at that. I totally understand, and you have yourself a nice day. And that was it. I texted the guy that trained me and said, wow, I pretty much am done before I ever got started. I talked to her and she pretty much cut me off and then hung up on me and told me to have a nice day. Now, I don't know what happened. Apparently, there's more to a story than what I was told in the beginning. So, this route was described as a local route, and then once you do it, you find out that it's the double route is like 11 hours, and then the single route, if they were to split it, is 7 hours. The description says you do your route in 3 or 4 hours and you have the rest of the day, and it's just not true. And then for the money that they pay per route, the double route is probably sustainable, even though it's a lot of miles and a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle. So it wouldn't be sustainable as putting a new set of tires on it every 10,000 or every 50,000 miles, because you're going to be doing about 10,000 a month. I mean, it's pretty, and it might not even be 10,000 a month. So if you're doing 500 a day, you're doing you're probably doing, 2,500 a week, 5,000 every 2 weeks. So you're doing 10,000. So I guess it is. It's a lot of miles. And like my trainer said, he's running his one vehicle into the ground by doing it, but he is making good money doing the double route, even though it's exhausting. So I come to find out then after the fact, talking to him, he made a complaint, and the company owes him some money and things like that, and then there was this dispute. So at the end of the day, we're pretty sure that even though they told me they were going to split this route up for me, and I would have one part of it, they were going to get me on board. They were going to fire him, and then I would have been stuck doing this double route. And since I initially said that I applauded him because it's a very long route, I think she assumed, oh crap, he's not going to want to do this double route. This isn't going to work. We're gonna fire this guy, and myself, I'm only going to be expected to do one route, and I would not have done that double route every day. Like I said, I applaud him. That was the only thing I said, and it just tripped her trigger. Now, I don't know how far this company goes. I did a little research during the application in the background check period, but the name of the company is, and I'm not even sure how I pronounce it correctly, is Gurnon Marchand Enterprises LLC. They tend to be either a third party, and in this instance, once I found out, it's almost like a fourth party, because pharmacies and these locations are paying the one company that runs the warehouse. They're paying them. The warehouse company is paying this Gurnon Marchand Enterprises to find guys to do the route, and then Gurnon Marchand Enterprises are finding the guys, vetting them, and then paying them. So it's like, you almost want to take out two of the middlemen, or, at least, one of the third party people, and go directly to the warehouse and kind of work for them. So it just didn't work out. I really thought, okay, yeah, I got to start making some money here. I got to do one part of this business that we're trying to get kicked off. I want to start doing something. And nothing has really come together yet. I thought this was going to be a good start, and it was driving and it was deliveries. I think one route had 5 stops. I think the other route had 7. So it was pretty cool, especially the first part of that loop was nice. It was decent. It was very easy to do. The app that I was training on was very easy to do. I think that day I used about $50 worth of gas on the long side of things. The short route would have been a lot less gas. So I think before taxes, after gas, wear and tear on the vehicle, and everything else, and insurance and everything that goes with it, it just wouldn't have been a good sustainable wage on top of that. So maybe everything, my wife always says everything happens for a reason. I'm yet to see the reason behind a lot of this the last couple of months, but I have a positive outlook. And, this company, if you guys come across these guys, I just recommend staying away from them, because it just, that lady, her attitude flipped faster than you could do a light switch, like something. It tripped her trigger so bad that There was a couple texts, in a group chat, a group text thing after that, and there was one of the other ladies that I think works in the office got in on it, and then finally I just left. I separated myself from that as far as I could, call it a wash. I think I had, $30 or $40 in a hand truck, a collapsible hand truck that I had bought, $80 in gas. I had $20 in a background check that I was supposed to get reimbursed along with my training wages of $75 a day. I'm probably not going to see any of that. And we're going to chalk that up as a loss and move on to the next thing, which I have no idea what that's going to be. New Year's is right around the corner, so I'm waiting to kind of debut if I'm going to continue this venture into my own business and the junk removal and anything else that I can pick up as a side hustle or a gig. Just been having a big struggle here, trying to figure out if I should just get a job with somebody while keeping the business and trying to get it up and going and kicking off, because I think springtime is probably the ideal time for this thing to go live, but I don't know. I've never done this before, and I'm learning as I go. So, learning experience last week. Chalk it up as a loss. We'll move on. 2026 is going to bring good things, hopefully, and I hope it brings good things for everyone. Thank you to all my subscribers thus far. I know some of my long form videos don't get very many views. Some of my short videos don't get very many views. But if you're coming across this and you have any suggestions, or if there's anything that you have ran into doing this sort of thing, things that have worked good for you, things that have been a total waste of time for you, please let me know in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe. I want to wish everybody, a happy holiday and a fresh start to the new year. And hopefully I can keep this channel going. And I will see you guys on the next one.